everyone, welcome along today to the latest of our Adobe Skills Lab webinars. We're getting towards the end of term now, aren't we? So we've only got one more webinar after this one to go, and we've really had a great year with lots and lots of really interesting topics. And I think today's webinar is going to be super interesting. And we have my colleague Byron is joining us, and he is going to be talking about AI tips and tricks with Premiere Pro. So it's a little bit more of a kind of specialist session than maybe we normally do. It's really looking at Adobe Premiere, but I think you will be really interested because certainly from the demos and previews I've seen, there's some really amazing new technology coming into that space. So thank you, Byron, for joining us today. Really looking forward to hearing what you have to share with us, and I'll pass over to you.
Thank you, Alistair, and hello, everyone. Thank you for your time today. It's great to be talking to the next generation of creative talent that's going to be coming out and into our industries. I work with all our enterprise customers, so people like the BBC and Sky and ITV, all the broadcasters, all the different agencies like WPP and Dentsu and all of those kind of types of people. And I also work with lots of brands as well, such as Dyson, for example, who we spoke to yesterday, just speaking to their creative teams and making sure that they're aware of our new features and what's available, and also helping to build new features and products, working directly with the digital video audio team, which is our team in the US who engineer and design our products. So it's with great pleasure today that I can speak to you and show you some of the things that we've been working on for the last year and which are kind of finally out in the software. My background, just in case you want to know kind of where I come from, I'm a cinematographer, an editor, and a colorist, and I've worked as a creative director for over 20 years now. So I kind of bring all that experience to this role and speaking to you as well. So without further ado, let me jump straight in. I'm just going to make sure sound's on here, and I'm just going to jump in here to my Premiere project here. So I'm just going to close up my camera, but please feel free to put any questions in the chat and I'll answer them at the end, just so you can pay kind of focus to what's on the screen here. So just shout a few if I go quiet or the screen goes blank or something like that, and I'll try and fix that. So the first thing I'd like to show you is here we are inside of Premiere Pro. This is the latest version 25.2, and I'm working inside this project. And what I've got inside this project is a sequence with lots and lots of clips. So you might have kind of run into the situation where, you know, you've done an edit and you want to kind of spice it up a bit and add some more content. And you've got, you know, a bin of clips, or you've got hundreds of clips. Maybe you haven't named these clips. They've all got kind of generic names and stuff. And if I try and search in the search field and say, you know, find me a picture of a lighthouse, nothing comes up, because of course you haven't had time to go through every single clip and label it. So, you know, you're saving, you're taking a lot of time to just try and find a clip, and that's not always kind of an efficient way to work. So what we've done over the last year is figure out a way that we can use search to search through loads and loads of contents just by putting in a keyword, just as something that you're looking for, and we call that semantic search. Now, where you'll find that option is up here in the top right hand corner. You have a new magnifying glass, and this is our media intelligence search option. So what does this allow you to do? So for example, here I've got a shot of a close-up of the lighthouse, and I actually want to have a wide shot of the lighthouse as an establishing shot. So I can go into the search field and just start typing in what I'm looking for. Just, you know, a lighthouse. Maybe I want to put a wide shot of a lighthouse. And you can see very quickly it finds that shot for me. And you can see that there isn't any kind of metadata or anything associated with the clip. It's just looking for what I type, a wide shot of a lighthouse. Now you can search through all open sequences. You can search just your source folder, which is just kind of the project you got open and all the clips in there. Or you can search through all of your sequences. Maybe you've got several sequences open, it's a big project and you're looking for, everywhere, every sequence where a lighthouse appears, you can find it here. Once you've found it, you double click in it to open it in the source viewer, and then you can just choose a portion of that and you can just drop it into the timeline here. And so you can kind of do multiple shots and stuff, cutting from a wide to a close-up shot. So let's look at some other things. So here I want to find a wide shot of flags. So I can put, let's say, just find all my flags first, all the shots with flags. And you can see here, it's found all the shots. So you've got medium, you've got a kind of a wide shot. So again, you can search for things precisely. You can put flags wide and it will find all the wide shots of flags and stuff. So that's useful. Another shot here I'm looking for is I've got this shot here where he's kind of cooking and it's a side view and he's cooking enchiladas. So you could just type in enchiladas because I know somewhere in those kind of all those food shots that I have, there's also like a top view. So that's something nice to kind of cut away to have lots of different angles. So rather than you trying to find where it is, get to it exactly. And you might have lots of shots you want to use. You might have like a little montage sequence that we started creating here with lots of different types of shots. And you might need to find some more shots. So say, show me all the shots with food in it. Now, as you type, you can see that only a few come up. This is like the most relevant 9 shots. Even if there's kind of food, something being chopped here, or if somebody mentions the word food in the text, we've also got speech to text transcription. And when everything comes in, it's transcribed and you can search that through the text panel. So you can see everything that's been transcribed. This program is all in Spanish, but we'll come to that later. So, it'll search everything. It will search all your source content. It will search anything in any audio. It will search anything in any text that comes through. So it's a really, really good kind of search engine here. So if you want to see more, you just click on all visuals and you can see everything that it's found everywhere. So that's a good little tip, is either see a few or either see everything in that option there. So we kind of hope that's going to be kind of useful, and you can be very precise as well. Here we've got like a chopping scene, and I just want to have a little bit more of a close-up. And I know somewhere in my bin of shots there's one shot I remember seeing that's mixed in with other shots, and it's just chopping a mushroom. Okay, so again, we haven't put any keywords in. We've literally just put some metadata. Sorry, we've literally just using semantic search, which means natural language search. So I just have to search what I'm looking for. So rather than a mushroom, it could be an onion, or it could be, and here's a picture of cutting an onion. If you just want to say like a tomato, you can find a picture of cutting a tomato. So getting to clips very, very quickly is the whole kind of point of this feature. So that's called Media Intelligence. And you'll find it in this little search panel, and it's in 25.2, the latest version of Premiere. So let's move on to something else. After we finish the project, we've got the ability from the text panel to go ahead and create captions. Now you can go through the transcript, you can fix any words that might be wrong or any spellings that might be wrong beforehand. That's not a problem. Then you can go into your captions and you can generate captions, and it will generate captions based on the natural language of your edit here. Now, say, for example, okay, we've got it in Spanish. Our Spanish editor has done a great job, but we might also want it in other languages. So now we have the ability to translate the captions into another language. It's been a much requested feature. All we have to do is go to our Translate Captions option. It automatically detects, as you can see here, what the original language is, and this is why we did the program in Spanish. And you can set a target language. So you've got up to, I think it's 27 different languages that you can translate this caption text into. So say, for example, we want to do it to English, we just select that, but we can choose multiple. And then we can choose the style. or we can set our own style, and then you can set some preferences like the maximum length in characters, the minimum duration in seconds, single line or double line. That's all you need to do, and just hit the translate button. I won't do it because I've already done it here. And what you'll get is you'll get another track where everything's been translated into your desired language.
Nuestra comunidad que existe aquí en la zona es un vecindario muy bonito y nuestro restaurante es en la.
Now, sometimes it's nice to have both the languages, and you can reposition these in different places, or you can just have, different versions for different geographies. So this really helps extends the, the ability to have this in lots of different other languages, so lots more people can view your content and you'll have a better reach. So that again is a new feature, and you'll find that in the captions option, which is in the text panel, and it's in these three little dots, and it's called translate captions. All you have to do is make sure your timeline selected, and that will appear. So that's translate captions. The next little tip and trick I want to show you is a new feature called generative extend. So the problem here is, if I play through these clips, that there's always something that's a little bit wrong with your clips sometimes, and we need a way of fixing it. So let me play this through. So this is a good little scene where he's sleeping, but right at the end he kind of takes his hand out of his pocket, and we actually want to kind of have more of him just kind of sleeping without moving. So that's a problem we need to fix. In this next shot here, it looks really good up until the point we get to here, and this kind of glaring lens flare comes into the shot, and we need those extra couple of seconds because that's kind of helpful for our edit, but that's a little bit distracting. So how do we get rid of something like that? And in the next shot here, this is looking really good up until the point where his goggles fly off, and we don't have another shot to kind of replace that. So we have a new feature which is down here, and this again is in 25.2. It's called generative extend, and it extends the amount of the video, the end of the video or the beginning, or anywhere you put a cut point, by 2 seconds, and it extends also the audio by 10 seconds if you need some background audio. So it takes a few minutes to do, but I've done it already here. So you can see where this little icon appears. That's where it happens. So let's review this shot. I've just turned on the generative extend portion. So essentially I've chosen this tool and I've pulled this along for 2 seconds for the extra 2 seconds I need. So let's just play through this so you can have a look. Let's close that down. So you can see now his hand is remaining in his pocket, which is great. In this next shot here, you can see where the lens flare appears. Now the lens flare has gone. And you'll see in this last shot here where his goggles flew off, now his goggles remain on. So, just to summarize side by side, so you can see we've got the original take on the left. Something happens, he starts moving his hands. We put a cut point before that happens and extend it. And the same in these two shots here, where his goggles fall off. We can stop the edit here and then drag out the extra 2 seconds as we've done. So that's a kind of a nice new little feature that we've created just to help you kind of fix shots without having to go in and try and find an alternative shot. So hopefully you find that useful. The next thing that might be useful to you is if you need to re-edit stuff, and you've got a complete edit here. Maybe someone's given you like an edit, and this happens all the time in industry, that you need to go in and you need to recut it. Maybe you need to do a version for Facebook or Instagram stories or TikTok, and you need to chop this up and re-edit it into a different order. You usually have to go through and you have to find the exact point where the cut happens, and you have to put a cut point in. It's a little bit tedious going through frame by frame and finding that, and then doing a Command K to put the edit point in. The easier way to do this is just to right click on the clip itself, and you get this little contextual menu bar, and in the middle of it there's an option that says scene edit detection. So this allows you to apply a cut point at each detected cut point. You can also create a bin of subclips, which is useful because then you can move them in a different order and have a different edit. And you can also put a clip marker at each cut point as well if you want to. Let's just go ahead and hit analyze. So it looks through and it uses AI to figure out what's changed from shot to shot. And then where it detects that there's something changed in a whole shot, it will put a cut point in for you already. Now you can check this if you go through from edit to edit. If you go back one frame using the back arrow key, then it should be a different shot entirely. And if you go forward one frame, then you're back on the cut point. And if you go forward another frame, it should be identical to the first frame. So hit the down arrow key, go back a frame, yep, that's different. Go forward a frame, cut point, go forward another frame, yep, that's fine. So you can do a quick kind of sanity check on a couple of shots just to make sure it's done. But you'll find this really, really useful, and it will save you a lot of time going in and manually putting in cut points. So that's scene edit detection, and you'll find that when you hover over a clip and right click and then scroll down into the contextual panel here. The next one thing we're going to show you is auto reframe. So say for example now I've got my edit and I've recut it because I've used the scene edit detection to do another cut. And now what I want to do is change this for a Facebook output. All I have to do is find this sequence. Now, a nice little tip, if you kind of ever lost and you've got lots of windows open and you don't know where the sequence is, if you right click on the sequence in the timeline, you can say here in the contextual menu, reveal sequence in project. And you need the sequence for this to work, but all you have to do is right click, and then you go to auto reframe sequence. So what this does is it changes the sequence format into your desired target aspect ratio. So we support square, vertical, 9:16, horizontal, or you can put in your own custom ratio. Here, let's say we want to have a 9:16 motion. You have a couple of options if it's fast moving or slow moving, and you can just go ahead and create a new version. Now you can see here it's created it. Now it's not just cropping the image, it's actually using AI to figure out what people are looking at in the shot, and it will recenter the image into the frame according to what we call eye gaze, which is trained on what people look at in a shot and what's the most important thing. So let's have a look at this. So you can see that in a couple of those shots, like this one, for example, it was kind of moving along, so it's reframed on here. And if there is a shot that you think, oh, it could do with a little bit more kind of framing, then what you can do is you can go to that shot and you can open up your effects control panel. The effects controls here. Here you can see where it's done the auto reframe, and it's actually an effect. And you can go in and you can manually adjust the reframe offset. So if you think, oh, it works a little bit better there, then you can put that new point in and it will reanalyze it and fit it into that frame. So it's AI, but you've got full manual override as well, just to make those kind of creative decisions. So that's auto reframe, and you can use it. You can find it inside the contextual panel for the sequence. So just make sure you find the sequence, right click on it, and then just select auto reframe. So that's going to save you lots of time as well, just kind of reformatting these all your edits for different formats. Now let's have a look at something else. We've done auto reframe. Another thing that might be quite useful is what we call enhanced speech. So you may have had this problem where the audio has not been recorded kind of consistently across the piece, or maybe your camera microphone died and all you've got is the kind of onboard camera mic audio and you need to kind of clean up audio. So in this case here, the audio is a little bit all over the place. I'll play this through so you can get an idea of what it's like.
My name is Lauren YS. I'm a muralist. I've been a muralist for 10 years. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and I was always drawing and painting, always getting in trouble for doodling in my math workbook, for example. I was always a fan of street art.
Now you can see as it's kind of jumping from edit to edit, it's kind of picking up the different camera audios and they're not kind of consistent. So we need to kind of fix that. And there's an easy way to fix that. You can highlight everything and you can open up the sound panel. Now, a nice little shortcut we've added to open up sound panel is we just click on these little preset icons here. One to go to the effects or one to go to the dialogue here. If I click on the dialogue, it automatically opens up the sound control panel. And the first thing I need to do, it's in the loudness setting, is auto match. So let's just fit this to sequence so you can see. If I click on auto match, it will basically go through all the audio and it will create a consistent auto match across everything. So everything has a good general level.
San Francisco and saw someone painting a mural in a big boom lift and I was just like, I have to do that. I didn't know how, but I became friends with that person and he took me painting and that's how I started picking up the skills. From there on.
Okay, so once you've done that, what you can do is just jump into here, which is the enhanced speech option. Now this does take a couple of minutes, so I've kind of done it already here for you and cleaned up the levels a bit more just by taking the volume down. So now this is what it sounds like after I click on the enhanced speech.
My name is Lauren YS. I'm a muralist. I've been a muralist for 10 years. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and I was always drawing and painting, always getting in trouble for doodling in my math workbook, for example.
And you can hear it's kind of much nicer. And the nice thing is that once you've done it once, it's been analyzed and you've hit that enhance button, then you've got the ability to kind of ride the mix amount. So you can add more of the ambience back into the audio or take it away. So let's have a look at this long shot here and see what you can do.
There's something about painting on the street that really ties people together in this way that creates.
So that's before.
Trust. And so in the beginning, you know, I would just like post on my Instagram and be like, hey, I'm going to Spain or I'm going to China. Is there any?
And that's moving the enhance amount. So you can see you can take that kind of badly recorded, kind of very ambient, echoey sounding audio and turn it into something more that sounds like it's been recorded in a studio.
Anyone out there who paints, who I can link up with, become friends with? Do you have somewhere I could crash?
And that all happens at the machine level. We've used AI to train it and create an algorithm, and we put that algorithm inside of Premiere just to allow you to clean up audio. You know, maybe you've got no experience cleaning up audio. It's just a one-click button with a nice slider that allows you to fix audio very quickly.
Hi, Aaron. We've got a really interesting question actually around this. So I've found enhanced speech really helpful. Curious if there's a way to default apply it automatically with a preferred preset each time you insert any clip with audio.
That's a really good request. We've had that request before, but we will kind of be kind of improving these features. So I would keep an eye out for it, but there's lots of nice kind of audio features coming down the line, let's say.
Thank you.
Okay. So another feature that you might find quite useful is this feature called Remix. And what this allows you to do is, say you've got a piece of audio that's too long, or maybe you've got a piece of audio that's too short and you need to fit it to your new sequence that maybe you've done like another kind of re-edit. Then we've got a way of doing that rather than just cutting it. I mean, generally you'd go in and you just create a cut point and now it's, you know, shorter, but it doesn't really kind of give you the full value of the music that you've used. So let's undo that. And you'll find this remix tool under the Ripple Roll tools here. And all we have to do is select that tool and just make this section shorter, and it goes ahead and it does its stuff. It does a clip analysis, it looks at the beats and the tempo, and it creates these cut points where it's remixed the audio, and you can see that visually by having a look at the audio, and you can see these little zigzag lines. I can click on the audio here and you will see the the options for remix and under duration. You can go to customize. You can customize the number of segments, or you can customize different variations as well. So if you want more variation, you can add that in. But essentially, when I play this through, you shouldn't notice that it's kind of jumping from one cut to another. So let's play across these two sections here. Okay, so there's no kind of drop in the beat, it's matched those exactly. So you've got a great way to kind of remix your audio. And say you wanted to use kind of a different portion of that audio, what you can do, if I undo that, so I wanted to use just this portion where it comes in, where the beat comes in, then I can just chop that section out. And let's say we just want to remove that section, and we just want to use this section here, which is more kind of the upbeat type stuff. So you just find the bit that you want, and again you choose your remix tool and you remix it, and then it will just remix it according to the bit that you actually want to use. And again, you shouldn't notice. So it's a nice little tool. And again, if it's too short as well, you can make it longer to fit, and it will reprocess it to fit your kind of length of sequence. So that, I think, is going to be really useful if you didn't know about that before. Another thing that might be quite useful is this thing called auto ducking. So auto ducking allows you to duck the music every time there's some narration. I'll just kind of put this little sequence together quickly. Let's just make that a little bit bigger so you can see here, and let's just move this up so you can see what's happening. So we've got some dialogue.
So I just needed a place to...
And we've got some music happening there. So usually you'd have to go in, put keyframes in, pull it down when she's speaking, pull it back up again when there's some kind of cutaway or something. And that's quite a laborious, tedious process. So again, all you have to do is select the audio, and inside the essential sound panel here, you have an option called ducking, which is here, third one along. You need to make sure, first of all, the button is on to activate it. And then you can see that it selected this as voice, which is correct. And you've got a sensitivity slider, a duck amount slider, fade duration and fade position. And if I just hit generate keyframes, you can see down here that it's generated the keyframe. So now when she's speaking, then it's a little bit quieter. And when she stops speaking, then there's a cutaway, then it goes up again.
So I just needed a place to put like my love of vintage, my love of inclusive vintage and fashion, which I think there was a big need for.
Okay, so that's where you kind of throw in some kind of B-roll or something, but you can see that it's done those things for you. And if I change the sensitivity and let's make it less sensitive and hit generate the keyframes, you can see, it kind of keeps it the same level. If I make it more sensitive, hit generate keyframes, it makes it more sensitive. If I want the duck amount to be slightly less, I can pull the duck amount down. If I want it to be slightly more, I can move it slightly more. If I want to change the fade duration to make it a little bit longer, I can change the fade duration longer or shorter here. So all you have to do is remember to hit the keyframe button, and it will regenerate it for you. And even if you move stuff around, you can regenerate it as many times as you like, just to get the right levels for you. So again, not having to put keyframes down and do everything manually is going to save you a lot of time. So that's called auto ducking, and it's available in the essential sounds area here. So let's carry on having a look at a few things. Another thing I just wanted to bring to your attention is text-based editing. So if you've ever brought in an interview and need to edit it, then, obviously you've gone through, you've listened to the whole interview, you might be making notes about time code, about, where they said this or that. And again, it's a kind of a long, laborious task. So rather than that, we thought, wouldn't it be good if we could bring in the an interview or anything with speech, and it would automatically transcribe it for you. So the way you do that is when you go to import, you select, all your clips that have some audio associated. It could be like interview or whatever. And then on the right hand side here, we've got some nice preferences for automatic transcription. So the first thing is to make sure it's on. Second thing is to make sure that you've got the right language, because we can do it in lots of different languages. Now this is not translated translation, it's transcription. So it's taking the speech and changing it to text. You enable the language here. You can say if there's multiple speakers, you can separate the speakers. So each speaker has their own kind of area. You can auto transcribe everything that's imported or only transcribe clips that go into sequence, up to you. When you hit import, it does the analysis in the background. And when you bring it in and drop it into your timeline or view it in the source monitor, if you just go to your text panel, and if you don't know what a text panel is, it's just in window, and this is where we keep all our panels. It's just here, text panel. Then you click on transcript. You'll be able to see the transcript of what she's been talking about. So if I play it here, now I'll get my notes. Okay, that's a producer.
Gotcha. So my book is called Playful Pottery.
And so, you know, if you just want to find out where she's talking about being creative, you can type in the word that she says that maybe you've watched this through. Remember, she's talking about, you know, creative things. You can do a search by
creative
keyword, just typing in here. Lots of things you can do. Let's give you a couple of different examples. Say, for example, we've got our interview, but it's got the producer, and you actually need to cut out every time the producer talks, because all you want is the bits of her talking, which is the more interesting bit. So what you can do is you can go into this filter and you can say you filter by speakers, and then it will filter just by the speakers. If you want to see the speakers, there's a nice little tip here where we've got this little settings button right in the bottom right, and you can turn on to see things like, so if you want to see the speakers, you can turn on the speakers. If you want to see where all the filler words are, so these are like ums and ahs, then you can turn that on. If you want to see where all the pauses are, you can say, let's have a look at all the pauses, and maybe I want to look at all the pauses which are kind of above, a second, for example, kind of the long pauses, or the shorter pauses if you're trying to make it a little bit more snappy. And then you just simply hit save. You've got some other search settings here, find whole words only, match capitalization, turn those on as well. So this will give you more information to search through. So now if I kind of scrub to the top here, you can see speaker 1, speaker 2, and I might want to delete every instance where speaker 1 is. So you simply go to the filters and you select speakers, which are already done, and then we can say, let's select everything speaker 1 says and get rid of it. You can go ahead and hit delete, and you can extract, which means that it will just take out any gaps, or you can lift it, which means it will just lift it out of the timeline. So if I hit lift and delete, you can see now we're left with just the instances where the interviewee is talking and there's no speaker 1.
Every Friday is like creative day,
which is great. So that saves a lot of time. The other thing that you can do is take out, things like the filler words. So here's the version where we've taken out all the ums and ahs.
I really want people to be creative and be kind to them.
Okay, so, and we've also got, another version where we've done a kind of more of a rough cut here. So we've done this rough cut, and there's this kind of sentence structure here.
And fashion, which I think there was a big need for. So Emotion Potion is,
and I actually want this bit where she talks about the name of the company, Emotion Potion, to be right at the beginning. So usually I'd have to go to a timeline and do this, but with text-based editing, you use the text panel as you would a word processor. So if you want to highlight this area, you highlight it, and then you can hit Command X to cut, and that will cut that section, and notice it's cut it out the timeline as well. And then you can paste it somewhere else in the timeline. So I want this right at the beginning. So I go to the beginning and hit Command V to paste, exactly like you do a word processor, and it inserts it into that location. So you can go through your entire edit, and you can see when I jump to the timeline, it matches what's in the timeline, what's been said in the timeline. And if I jump to this interview in, let's just go to it in the project here, then this clip, if I double click on here, then you will see the text change to reflect what's inside the source. So you can do that just by saying follow the active monitor. So whichever you select will jump between what's been said in timeline to what's been said in the source original clip, or you can turn that off. That's a good little tip. And you can say, let's just focus in what's on the timeline and let's not jump between one place and the other, because that could be a bit distracting. So once you've done your rough cut, then you can kind of go in and fine tune it. Let's say
that time to
this is, really long segment here. We don't need all of it. You can just see what she's saying and say, well, kind of it's good up until this point here. And then we don't really need this bit. So I can just hit delete. And as you hit delete, it deletes it in the timeline. So that's what we call text-based editing. Whatever you do in the text field reflects in the timeline. So that could save you, and we know it could save you hours and hours when you need to kind of go through and edit a sequence together for a documentary or for a film or even for a corporate video. It saves you hours and hours of time. So that's why we kind of invent all these things, is really to kind of give you some time back in your life so you can go and do something more fun, and just get through your edit, quickly as possible. Not to say that editing isn't fun. I think it's fun, but it will save you time and all those kind of mundane tasks. So that's text-based editing. I've shown you a couple of the audio things, so I'll jump across there.
Can I just jump in quick? Because we had another question in the chat, Byron, and
sure.
Do let us know if you're going to cover this in a minute, and that's fine. But it was Jacob was just asking if Premiere has any AI tools for addressing overexposed backlighting, for example, a blown out window behind a subject.
It doesn't. I mean, if it's blown out, all the color information is gone. You need to have shot it maybe in HDR with a HDR camera, and then you can recover some of the highlight details. So that's why you'd tell your camera person to go and shoot in HDR and log, and when you shoot in log, it retains more of the overall color space information in the shot. So it's very much getting it right in camera first. There's very little you can do to the actual shot if the window's blown out. The cameraman's obviously exposed it for the subject and not the background. But with HDR cameras, you can perhaps recover some of that detail. And I'm going to come and show you some color stuff now, so it might be useful. So let's have a look at another big jump we've done. So we've changed the color engine, the way the color pipeline works in version 25.2. So this is kind of the situation before, where we had content that comes in and it's shot with in the log format. So this is what I was just talking about shooting everything with a log profile, so you can get some kind of more detail back in the highlight areas. And this is what it used to look like. Now we've changed that whole paradigm, and now we've got color managed timeline. So what this means is that you might be working with different formats in your timeline. You've got some red footage here, you've got some Canon footage, camera footage at a different angle, you've got some Fuji footage here, and usually what you'd have to do to make this look normal is import a LUT and throw a LUT on the clip, and that's kind of all you could do. So we've tried to make that process easier, and we've introduced color management into Premiere. So this is completely redefining the way kind of color works. You don't have to worry too much. If you've done projects before and you bring them in, they will look exactly the same. What this gives you the ability to do is work in a much larger color space and grade things in HDR, for example. Now, previously, you'd have to go through and you'd have to hunt for where all the different settings are. So perhaps you'd have some kind of settings in the preference menu that you could change. Perhaps you'd have other preference settings in other areas where it said color. Maybe you'd have something in the sequence settings and that said color too, color management here, for example. Now everything's in one place. So if you go to where the Lumetri color setting is, you've got, on one side, you've got the Lumetri controls. And on the other side now, just over here, right next to it, and it's easy to miss, there's a button called settings. And that puts all the color settings into one place. So in preferences, if you want to get all the color management stuff working, just make sure that these are on: display color management and extended dynamic range. And these are sticky settings. So once you set them once, they'll stay on all the time. And then you can set things like your sequence settings. So by default, you'll be color grading in standard definition, which is Rec 709, but you can now change that into different color settings. So we've got a really nice wide gamut tone mapped color setup now, color pipeline. So you can jump into there. And as I do, you won't immediately notice any difference, but it's changed. It's kind of swapping out the engine. So it's giving you more kind of powers for creating a nice grade. So all you need to do is just set what your output color space is. But just to show you kind of what that does, if I just jump back to how it was before, so Rec 709, if I go into edit, and if I just do a simple change in exposure, so let's take the exposure down by 2 stops to -2, and let's open my scopes here. So you can see, let's say here that you can, before I did that, let's reset it. So double click to reset it. This is how the overall RGB balance in the shot looked. When I take it down to -2, then it kind of pulls everything down and makes it look a little bit flat. And so when you go to your settings and you work, rather than working in this Rec 709 color space, sorry, this one, the color setup, and you work in wide gamut tone mapped, you can see as I do that, that it doesn't tend to kind of destroy all the kind of high end. It kind of cleans it up a bit. So this is kind of better control over the exposure, for example. And that's just one little thing. If you want now, so we're currently color grading this in Rec 709, and I know that because it's got Rec 709 there, which is the normal color space that we've had all the time inside of Premiere, but I can switch that now to our high dynamic range color spaces, which is, for example, Rec 709, 2100 HLG or 2100 PQ. And watch as I do that, you can see that it kind of retains all those nice highlights and stuff. So if you kind of shot stuff with the window in the background, you'll have kind of more detail in the background when you start pulling down your highlights or your whites in your shot. And that does that to kind of all the shots. Now, by default, most of all these kind of formats, Red, for example, Canon, Sony, they're all color managed, but there are some newer formats like this Fuji camera that are not. So what you do when you have all these mixed formats? Well, it's very simple. You find where that is in your project. So if I jump to here, you can see both these clips here, and you select them, and then you just have to manually modify them. You can just go to modify color, and over here you can see by default the color space is Rec 709. When I override that color space and you click in here, you can see all the different cameras that we support now. So Arri, Log, Canon, and so there's the Fuji one, which isn't on by default. We can just select that and hit OK. So in one click, you can change all your Fuji camera content into the right color space. And now it's kind of correctly color managed. The whole timeline here is a wide gamut ACES CCT color timeline, which means that it's got great, it's basically a much bigger color space than Rec 709. So you can do some much nicer adjustments. So the controls now have changed from, if we go back to our Lumetri controls, then they take advantage of all this extra color space, which means in essence, you know, any little changes you do. So let's maybe make this a little bit brighter. Let's maybe take the temperature up to create that kind of nice warm color. Any kind of movement you make now is a little more kind of subtle, and you don't have to kind of push as much to get kind of a look or feel. Let's maybe take the saturation up a little bit there, make it really kind of pop. Things like the curves, for example, they're kind of more kind of attuned to this kind of high dynamic color space, so you can do some nice kind of corrections there. And particularly when you're doing kind of changes to any of the these kind of curves, the hue saturation example, say we want to slightly change the color of her jacket there, we can click on the jacket, it isolates that area. Maybe you want to make it a bit more red or a bit less kind of bright red, you can change it here. You can change a different parameter settings here as well, and you can make those kind of really nice kind of subtle adjustments. If you just want to change the color of a jacket, for example, then you can go into hue versus hue and you can change the color of a jacket to different color. You can make it a little bit more pinkish there, and really go in and start kind of crafting the kind of look and feel, and everything just, just plays back in real time as you made those kind of adjustments. And this also makes balancing different cameras better as well, because you've got a much better color space. So let's say we want to, just very simply take that and bring it over to here. It's just a simple Command C to copy, and you can just go to paste attributes, and you can just say, let's kind of paste those attributes. So now we've got those two cameras matching. Now we need to kind of match this one here. So you can just paste attributes to this section here. You can see it's not going to match precisely because of the composition of these shots, but it's much easier to do once you've kind of got this bigger color space. All we need to have a look at, as you can see in this first one, there's more kind of range at the top there. And in this shot here, it needs to kind of lift this area up here, which tells me that if I go into my basic correction settings, then all I need to do is kind of lift up the shadows a little bit there, make it a little bit warmer just to match, maybe add a little bit more saturation to match it there. And you can easily kind of go in and you can match it a little bit better because you've got kind of much kind of control over matching these different shots together. So again, once you've done one, you can copy it and you can paste it very quickly and get your color balance done. Or you can use adjustment layers to kind of make that balance even better. So that's kind of what we've done with color. It's going to kind of really change the way you work and color grade stuff. And we've got some new tools coming as well inside of the Lumetri panel towards the later end of this year, which will kind of really help you if you want to just kind of try and finish everything inside of Premiere. So that's kind of covered a lot of things. It's been speaking for a long time. I'll stop sharing there and just take, while we're kind of waiting for some questions to come through, let me just show you couple of other things that might be useful just in terms of color correction. We've got this button here which just says auto with a magic wand in it. This little button uses AI to color correct shots, and it looks at kind of multiple frames across the image. So if you're new to color grading, this is a great place to start. It's similar to the kind of auto setting inside of Photoshop. It actually took 3 years to develop, and it's just a button. It looks across multiple frames, it analyzes a shot, and in one click it will essentially allow you to kind of get the best out of the shot, and it will show you kind of what it's done to the shot as well. So it really kind of makes the shot pop, and it's like a one-stop kind of click just to give you a good kind of idea of what to change to fix stuff. And then you can go in, you can refine it however you want to, because we're working this kind of much nicer color space. You can get some really nice kind of looks and stuff. But yeah, just try that. If you're not new to color correction, try the auto, and it should kind of really make your shots really pop. And the other thing is, if you want to match between two different shots, there's also another bit of AI we put in and hidden here inside the color wheels and match. So we go to comparison view here. Let's just close our scopes here so we can see. Let's say we've done a change to this shot and we want to match it to this shot here, for example. Let's say this might not exactly work. Let's just remove anything there for a start, and let's remove everything here for a start. So it's kind of back to normal. So say on this one here, we do a little bit of change, and this really works well if we use these 3 color wheels here. So one adjust the shadows, one adjust the midtones. And let's put the playhead here so we can see. So I'm just going to fix this one first. So let's just make something obvious, make this kind of quite warm looking. And let's just add a nice kind of warm look to it. Let's take down the highlights here as well. So we created kind of a nice look and feel, and we want to kind of apply it to this shot here. So on the left hand side, this is where it's going from, and you just move the playhead to the shot you want to match it to, and you can hit apply match. And as long as the shots are kind of quite similar in terms of composition, it will kind of apply a match from one shot to the other as closely as possible. So you can see here it's done a really good kind of match. It takes a few seconds, but because both these shots, they're just the kind of same angle, sorry, different angles, but from in the same location, it's kind of gives you the ability to do a good color match. And then if you just need to go and tweak it, you can go ahead and use the controls to tweak these shots a little bit more so they match a little bit better. So maybe I just want to take a couple of highlights down here just to match those two together. So you can see, the closer that you can get these two together, the kind of better it is. So that's using the comparison view, which is in color wheels and match, and the apply match, which uses AI to kind of match one shot against the other. So all we have to remember is put it into the comparison view, which is this button here. You can also put that button into your program monitor here as well, just by adding buttons. If you didn't know that, if you click on the plus sign, you can add lots of different options into this area here. And then you've got one place to turn on and turn off. And I always put the effects button as well. So you've got global effects mute. So if any time you want to go back to the original shot, you can click on the global effects mute just to see what it was like. So now, you can do kind of nicer balancing from one shot to the other. So hopefully
There's a
that's
couple of questions come into the chat there. I don't know if you can see them, Byron, or if not, I can read them out. So where's the AI processing done, on machine or in the cloud?
That's a good question. So things like auto reframe, remix, auto match, color, enhanced speech, they're all done on the machine. They are they've used algorithm AI in our labs we basically fed it lots and lots of data, and it's used machine learning to create an algorithm, and we put that algorithm as code into the programming language of Premiere, so it actually lives on the machine. So that's what we called Sensei AI ML. That's AI ML machine learning that lives on the machine in the software. And then we've got another type of AI which we call generative AI. So where you saw me extend the clip by 2 seconds, that's sending the clip out into the cloud and into our data centers, and it's extending that clip by 2 seconds and doing all the magic there, and it's sending it back into the timeline. So that's generative AI, we call it. And then there's another form of AI, which is Firefly, which is another service that we have, which allows you to create content, for example, by typing in text and creating an image or video. So we've got a couple of different things. So the actual AI stuff that's hitting the cloud that sits inside of Premiere is generative extend and also caption translation. Everything else lives on at the machine level, so you can use it offline.
That's great. I have now allowed people to unmute themselves or put a camera on if you do want to ask something. But we do have one more question there from Jacob, who's asking about the autocorrect, which you covered. He says, I notice it's grayed out when highlighting multiple clips. Any way to apply it across the project, or is it just one clip at a time?
Autocorrect, is that which was that in the text to speech under basic corrections? Oh, you mean for the color auto correct for the color? For color, you can't apply it to everything. You have to do it one by one. Yes, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, currently it's one by one, but we're obviously working on some other tools that will allow you to kind of do the color correction, auto color correction across multiple. It's just that the way it was designed, it looks at the multiple frames in one shot, and the frames and the lighting can change from one shot to the other. So that's why you have to do it from shot to shot. What you can do is just fix it on one shot and copy and paste it to the other similar shots. That will save you a lot of time. If you want a general grade across everything, you can add an adjustment layer, and you can do a correction to the adjustment layer to kind of fix everything underneath and create kind of a look that's the way usually people work. that make sense?
Great, thank you. Yes. Um, so if there's no further questions, I think we'll wrap up there. I just want to thank Byron again for coming along. And there's so much progress, isn't there, Byron,
Hmm.
on the AI and all of the Adobe tools. When I look at, I can look at data on how people are using it, and I see that the usage of things like Firefly within tools like Photoshop and Illustrator is actually increasing all the time. So people are actually using these tools a lot more within education, within their teaching and learning. So it's really, I found it really interesting to kind of observe that. So thank you so much for, keeping us up to date, and I hope that you can continue to do so as well. Um,
Absolutely. As long as people find these useful, I'm happy to kind of do them. And, would just remember that we're kind of making tools that don't work on their own. They work with a creative. So they kind of, it's useful for you to learn them, A, because they're used in industry, and B, people are always looking for ways to save time and money and get things done faster and create more content. So all these tools that we create kind of hopefully help you edit faster and grade faster and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been I probably used Premiere more in the last year, to, for example, edit these webinar videos and edit some of the quick demo videos that I've been working on than I have in the previous 20 years. So I've been using it a lot more, and I do think it's a fantastic tool.
Mhm.
Thanks everyone for coming along today. And the last of our sessions is coming up in a couple of weeks, and that's looking at digital portfolios and CVs. And I did drop the link in the chat. If you haven't registered for that, you can do so. We will be making this video available on our YouTube channel in the next few days, as soon as I have edited it in Premiere and uploaded it there. And we've got you've dropped in an event there, Byron. I'll let you
Yeah.
explain that.
So that's one thing. Last thing I was going to say is we've got a live webinar tomorrow, in fact. But if you register, you can get the recording, and that's with an exciting editor called Ernie Gilbert, who's a music video editor and director. He's done things like Beyonce and Linkin Park and things like that. So it'll be interesting to kind of listen to him about how he makes his music videos, and that's where I started as well inside of Premiere making music videos. So good place to start.
Cool, that's excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. I'll leave it there. And yeah, hopefully I'll be catching up with some of you in some of our future sessions. That's
Yeah,
great.
look forward to seeing you. Thank you for your time, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.